Welcome, bitch, you welcome. John Clauser, Johnny Metal, the Metal Dad, coming to you from my music corner of the world. Welcome to another edition of Mortification Monday, that series where I've been talking about the Australian Jesus metal band Mortification, led by Steve Rowe, its bass player, vocalist, and primary songwriter. Today, we're going to take a look at the 2009 Evil Addiction Destroying Machine. So this one was recorded between November 2008 and March of 2009. Let's take a look at who we got in the band here. We got Mick Jelinek back on guitar. This would be his last album featured on guitar. Of course, you got Steve Rowe here in the middle. You got Adam Zaffarisi back on the drums. After Live Humanitarian, Damon Piercy dropped out of the band. They would go through a little bit of a revolving door of a couple of different drummers. Adam would come back and record the album. This, if and let me just show this cover off a little bit better because the vinyl here really shows this one well. Um, there, Steve really one of the things Steve sings a lot about in this on this particular record on at least two or three tracks, the Evil Addiction Destroying Machine. If you notice, this angel's like stomping on a bunch of like medicine bottles, and you got some capsules here with little demons coming out of it. Um, Steve took on the idea of just how big pharma is was really starting to get people addicted to certain medications, trying to help them in whatever their health issue was. They would become, which is so true. I mean, it's so, oxycodone and things like that are so, they're great for painkillers, but they come with this addictive feeling about them that people get addicted to this stuff. And that tends to be more of a killer more than anything. So so that's what kind of he's tackling here. Um, One of the cool things I want to show about in the CD here is you have this little thing here where it says immortalized supporters. So what this was is, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, um, there was a pre-order done, and you could pay whatever if you wanted, however much you wanted, and you could get your name included in the credits. So yeah, you can't really, there's no way you can see it, but there I am right there. So it's a little tough to see. But anyway, let's get into this album. Um, Again, a very different sound. The one thing about Mortification is they never seem to stick to one particular sound through every album. You have Steve singing a lot harsher sounding. You have a lot of groove, a lot of power. With Adam back in the band, you get a lot of uh, crazy drumming, blast beats, and a lot of double bass, and you have this different kind of energy thrown into the mix. Um, Personally, I really feel like the music really saves this album big time. Mick and Adam and Steve just really shine musically with this album. Lyrically, I feel like Steve's kind of repeating a lot of the verses a lot, um, which is not really a bad thing, but it does get kind of samey. So while this, I've been listening to this for a couple weeks because just trying to get my head in with it. While I wouldn't say it's my favorite of the Mick Jelinek era, this is still a good album, but it has its faults. So you get the title track, the Evil Addiction Destroying Machine. Basically full speed ahead. As I said, the harsh vocals are back. Uh, let's see, you do get some really nice guitar work here from Mick, but yeah, this takes a big look at the pharma-induced addictions that people get into, and how people just really tend to depend on the medications to get them through their life, and not turn to God and to Jesus for and their faith. That's going to be an over again. You've heard me say this a lot. turn to Jesus, turn to God, trust your faith, and follow through with that, and let that guide your life. Yes, you probably will need certain medications to get you through, but don't just try something and hope it's going to work. Get a good clinical test and say, okay, this will help you balance this or whatever. Okay, so that's not, again, not to be preachy about any of that kind of stuff. I know there are good things about the pharmaceutical industry. It's just sometimes it just gets a little overboard. But anyway, but a very well recorded album, not terribly overproduced. Adam's got a great drum sound throughout this entire album. I love mixed guitar tone and Steve's bass tone here. Next song is a Master of Reinvention. Just another grinder consistently trying to reinvent oneself. Especially with, Steve's talking about, just he doesn't want to be pigeonholed to one particular sound. So he's going into all kinds of different avenues in the metal genre to really work with. And but all the while he wants to keep that message of faith, that message of the gospel. That's really what he's wanting to glorify the most, more than anything. Mick has some wonderful lyrical solos. I will also add here, no co-writes, all Steve written material here. So Mick and Adam do not get any co-writes on any songs here. Sense of Eternity. My wife works for a thrift store called Vapor Ministries, and life is but a vapor, and that's a line that's repeated a few times in this song. Again, staying strong in your Christian communities, and allow faith to guide you. There's some great grinding moments. There's some great pulsating parts. There's a beautiful solo without rhythm guitars going on there. That beautiful section. Like I said, the thing that saves this album so much is a lot of them is just the musical arrangement parts of it. That's what really, really saves this album so much. So Mick, Steve, Adam, you guys did a great job with this album as far as the music goes. Lyrically, again, not saying there's anything wrong with it. It just, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it, but it's not as strong. I'll just say it. I'll just leave it at that. Elasticated Outrage. This is just another banger of a track. Uh, Again, when life seems to be falling apart, what are you clinging to? Don't fall into that trap of seeking the other methods to cope with life. Again, goes back to the addictions, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's sex, whether it's politics, whether it's whatever it is that you're addicted to, and there's so many other better ways to deal with the outrage of life, which was one thing I noticed about this album. This has a bit of a righteous anger to it. um, let's see. The next song, and I want to get this title track, or I want to get the track of it correctly. One man with courage makes a majority. Now, this quote has supposedly been associated with Andrew Jackson, the United States seventh president. Some may debate that. I'm not going to get into a history debate with y'all. So y'all can talk about that in the comments in the live chat. But just another spiritual warfare song. Another beautiful bridge and breakdown section in this song. There's just so many the parts just came together so well on this album. This is probably one of my favorite songs, just for that one particular part. It just flowed so well. Just another great banging track. Um, let's see. Next song. And again, we got a lot of long titles here. Pilots Hanging from Shoulder Dust. Uh, Very interesting title here. Exploring the consequences of basically a life without purpose is really what you're kind of talking about here. You get some reworked riffs, but this is still a really good banger of a track. Um, Red's Pushing the Envelope of the Red Sunrise. Woo! Long titles here. Spiritually charged song here again about the coming of Christ. You get some good throbbing grooves in the intro, good thrashy parts. Another great track. I'm Not Confused. Uh, basically a song Steve knows where he's going whenever he passes away from this earth, and this is kind of where my feeling is too. I feel like I trust in the Lord to know that He's going to take me home and I pray that when I'm greeted at the gates, I hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Um, Good moshable moments in this song. Next song is called Alexander the Metal Worker. Now, this is an interesting song. This is a song that you of a character of a name mentioned in the Bible. His name was Alexander, and he was a metal worker. He's mentioned at the end of the book of Second Timothy, chapter 4, where Paul, the Apostle Paul, is as admonishing his spiritual son Timothy to beware of Alexander the metal worker. He did him great harm and caused a lot of problems for the word, the spreading of the gospel. And basically, this song is basically telling the listener, are you like an Alexander the metal worker, or are you more like a Timothy or a Paul, and you want to see the gospel be spread? So that's a really strong song. Ends off with a song called Resurrection Band, a tribute to Rez. Um, this song is a song I have. It's only about a little over 2.5 minutes long, but this is a song I have found I go to quite a lot on this album. It's basically just a tribute, like it says, to the Resurrection Band, which was a Christian band, started up in the early '70s, and they basically took elements of hard blues rock, maybe a little Jefferson Airplane, because there was a female, the wife of Glenn Kaiser, the singer-songwriter, was also in the band, and she did vocals. So you kind of get maybe a little bit of a Jefferson Airplane kind of vibe. But they were just a heavy um, blues hard rock kind of sound that Glenn would take on throughout the rest of his career. I saw Glenn Kaiser twice with his solo band, and what a fantastic band. But yeah, this basically I agree with this song. I love it. Steve Rowe was coming close to the end of his rope when he first heard Resurrection Band, and it saved his life. And he was able to talk to Glenn one time about that at a show. I believe maybe in a Cornerstone, could have been in another festival show, but Steve really attributes Resurrection Band's music and message to that really helped him in his life. So there you go, folks. The Evil Addiction Destroying Machine. Um, Again, if you have kept up with this series, if you have followed Mortification, what do you guys think about this album? We don't have much left to go. Um, I probably will next week. I'm going to talk about this EP called Scribe of the Pentateuch, and I think a couple of other compilations that came out about this time. The last album that they've done was called Realm of the Skeletar, which again, I think there was some other comps that came out about that time, and that's going to be pretty much it. Um, I'll spend an episode talking about One Row Vision, which was a side project Steve Rowe did, and I want to talk about a couple of albums that Mick Jelinek did with his band Terraphobia. I've got a couple albums from them, and I want to kind of highlight those as well. So those will be kind of mashed all together. So we're getting close to the end of this series, folks. Hang in there. I hope you've enjoyed it. John Clauser, Johnny Metal, the Metal Dad, saying rock forever, God rules. We'll see you soon.